I'm going to call this August 14th, 2023, regular meeting of the City of Coolidge City Council to order. Please join me, stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance. Thank you. Sienna, would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tom Bagnell.
Present.
Councilmember Adriana Saavedra.
Present.
Councilmember Steve Hudson.
Here.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. Councilmember Eric Daniels. Vice Mayor Jackie Henry.
Here.
And Mayor John Thompson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move into presentations. The monthly report by the Chamber of Commerce. There she is. Good evening, Lynn.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Well, I missed you last month, but good for you. So I won't go through all the reinvestments because we had 32 of those for May and June, but I do want to highlight our new members, which was Home Instead and Signal Peak Early Learning Center. Our stats for local visitors for May was 236, and for June, 315. In-state was 37 for May, 15 for June. Out-of-state, 10, and 3 for June. Referrals was 1,277, and for June, it was 1,031. Year-to-date on all our visitors was 2,467. Casa Grande Ruins in the month of May, they had 7,900 visitors. In June, they had 6,059. Year-to-date is 78,372. You can see they're way up from normal. The Gem and Mineral Museum, which they're open one day a week. So in May, they had 121, and again, in June, 121. Their year-to-date, it's 806. Some of the highlights that I went to the Governor's Tourism Conference this year, which was really a great turnout. The one fact I want to put in your head is Arizona's in the top 10. I think it was the 8 states it's visited. And the places that people visited was the national monuments, which we attest to that we're getting a lot of visitors to that. We did the welcome back for CUSD and Imagine, which was a great turnout. Morale is way up. It was just really awesome to be around those employees. We started our training series with the SBDC, and we had P&L training, which turned out really well. It was real well received, and they want more. Attended the land use zoning meeting that was here. It was a great meeting, and I thought it was a good turnout and got some positive feedback. Upcoming events, we have our membership luncheon, August 16th. And I don't know how many of you saw that article in Thurman Ashcraft. We had people out of Queen Creek call us and say, hey, we really want to honor him. They're desert diggers, so they're coming. We're going to be honoring him at the Casa Grande Ruins on August 6th. The cotton patchers are going to give him a quilt of valor. Is that correct? Quilt of valor?
Yes.
So he's going to get several awards that day. He's having his 100th birthday party. He still comes in probably once a month to Chamber and brings us vegetables. It's really nice. Today we got fresh tomatoes. Who can grow fresh tomatoes this late in the season? I don't know. He can. Just reminding everybody that the general plan, the circulation is going to be on September 13th. And for more details, visit our website. Any questions?
Any questions for Lynn? No, sir. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, I'll have the call of the public. Who was here first? No, Gussie, I guess you'll just.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and to each of you in your respective places. First of all, I want to thank the city of Coolidge for their participation in a tabletop exercise held at the Pinal County Emergency Management Office in Florence on Friday, July 21st. Kudos to our city managers, to our fire chief, and to our police chief representative. On behalf of the Randolph community, we are truly grateful for your presence. Secondly, New Hope Church reserved the community center on Saturday, July 1st for their Vacation Bible School cookout, and we thank you so much for making it available to us. Also, Bobby King, one of New Hope members, and also she resides in Coolidge. She celebrated her 75th birthday on July 15th, and she also reserved the youth center. Of course, no one has control of the heat outside, but due to the climate change, but there was a serious heat issue inside that facility on that night. Coolidge Police Department, they was called, and there was a city staff that came out. Of course, we don't expect him to have any control over the situation. Even though one of the guests did remark, say that they was told that his department had not received, that he'd not been informed that the facility was reserved for that date. For me, it's understandable with, you have so many people to contact and all that. They'll be notified, the information can be dropped at times. And the reason I mention this is because on July 30th, Silverta Livingston's family reserved the youth center to celebrate her 100th birthday. And I just hopefully that the information get to the right people so the facility can be cool for that information. Because with family and friends coming from all over, and I'm a resident of Coolidge, I don't want anyone leaving here and saying bad things about the people of Coolidge, okay? And Coolidge, that's my home. And I don't want anybody bad-mouthing the people that lives here, or works here, okay? And thirdly, keep up the good work. I enjoy living here, dealing with the people here in Coolidge, and I just thank you for this space. God bless you.
Thank you, Gussie. Okay, we have a couple others. John Nixon?
Evening, Mayor, council members, city staff, and fellow citizens. I got 3 minutes. That's how long my introduction's going to take, so I better speed it up a little bit. My name is John Nixon. My wife and I live at 1341 West Roosevelt. She's a retired teacher. I'm a retired Parks and Rec guy, and I want to say we enjoy living in Coolidge very much. We came here from Maricopa. And while Maricopa has some good people, I'm glad I'm not in Maricopa anymore. I'm glad I'm in Coolidge. A couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention that I think is kind of important is specifically Walker Park. The basketball court at Walker Park needs a little bit of work. It needs, in my opinion, it needs to be resurfaced. There's a lot of cracks in the concrete. A concrete court is a good idea for an outdoor court because of how long it's going to last. But when it ages, it gets cracks in it, and it also gets kind of slick. And the last couple of weeks, I've been out to the court to talk to some of the kids, the teens using the court, and quite a few adults actually use it as well. And some of the things they asked for when I told them what I was there for, I agreed with most of them, but I narrowed the list quite a bit here. But anyway, the lighting, there's quite a few shadows on that court. So I think that needs to be looked at. I don't know that much about lights, to be honest with you, but I know brand new lighting would not be cheap. It could cost anywhere from probably $50,000 to almost $200,000 to relight that court. I don't think that needs to be done. I think you can upgrade the lighting in that, but the resurfacing really needs to be done before somebody gets hurt on that. The other thing that was asked for that I thought was a good idea, that's not that expensive, is 1 or 2 3-row bleachers. Because I've been by that park many times, and a lot of times the kids that aren't playing, they're resting, and they're just kind of standing around, or they sit in the grass, or they sit in a picnic table. But it would be really nice for a couple of 3-row bleachers, and that probably costs about $1,800. That's not that much. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention is the condition of Hohokam Park. That's an entrance to our city on the north end, and it's just getting some weeds in it. I don't even know if people can park there. I assume you can on the dirt there, but if we could get that surfaced, kind of upgraded a little bit. And I had talked to a city manager here a couple of weeks ago, and he was pointing out some of the issues that, of course, they're aware of these things that I'm telling you. But one of the things that I would be willing to help with that I started when I was director in Prescott Valley is a citizen park watch program. And that would be volunteers, somebody to go around and check the parks in the evening. Police can't do everything, and I certainly realize that. Whoop, my time is up. Okay. Anyway, thanks for listening. I really appreciate it.
Hold on a minute. I can make it, tell me a little bit about that Park Watch program.
The Citizen Park Watch
Yes,
program?
sir.
Yeah, that was, we had issues in a park on the south end of Prescott Valley. It's called Fane Park. And Fane Park was pretty much hidden from view. If you wanted to go down and patrol Fane Park, the police did, they had to go down a hill. I mean, it's a beautiful setting, and it's right on Lynx Creek. But there was a lot of vandalism down there. And I knew that before I came director because I was working for the city of Prescott at that time. And we started it wasn't me that started the park ranger program in Prescott, but I used a lot of the success from that program to start one in Prescott Valley. And we sent the word out through to the council. And also we coordinated that with the police department, with the police chief up there. A gentleman at that time was named Dan Schatz. And Dan was all for it. And so we had about, I guess, Mayor, we had maybe 10 to 15 volunteers. And I rotated them around during the peak hours. And we didn't want them out there at 10 p.m. or midnight or anything. The police said they could handle that. A little bit risky. There wasn't law enforcement background. But just the presence of them, we gave them a hat, a yellow shirt, so they could be and sometimes just the presence of people out there watching the park, answering questions, things like that. It didn't eliminate the vandalism, but it certainly reduced it. And it was a good program. I don't know if it's still going on. That was quite a few years ago, but it was successful during the time I was director there. And like I said, I would be glad to help with that any way I could.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
And Tina and Thomas Jones. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. We're from the VFW, and on October the 21st, we're going to do a car show that we've been doing. This will be the 4th year that we've done it. We need help on getting barricades set up. We need 9 of them, and we need 4 road closures during that time. First road closure will be on Main Street down next to Harding, on Coolidge Avenue on the east side, and then road closures on 3rd Street and on 4th Street. If we can get the help like we've been getting, we'll make it a success again.
Tom, what day was that? October? You say October what?
October the 21st.
21st, okay.
What time will we start?
Oh, it's on the consent agenda, so that'll all be taken care of on that, won't it, Ricky? Yep, it's all on there tonight. Okay. I guess, well, I'll vote for it. I don't know about Steve and these guys, but I'll vote for it. So, I think it'll probably pass. So included in that will be all the things that you need. You did put something in writing. So, okay, it'll get taken care of.
We've got the map and everything submitted and the requests already.
Okay?
Thank you.
You betcha. Okay, anybody else? A call to the public?
All to the public.
He only gets 3 minutes, right?
The only 3 minutes, start the clock.
Ben Navarro, 832 West Hopi Drive. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I actually came up here just to say thank you to Ellison Mills. They're one of our contractors. and out of the goodness of their heart and a little bit of a push from me, they poured a sidewalk in front of Imagine Schools to help with some of their issues with getting cars in and out of their parking lot. I know they're still struggling a bit with what they have going on, but they didn't charge the city a dime for it. They came out, they had their guys pour a good section of sidewalk in front of it, and they were actually willing to pour sidewalk all the way across on the south side too, but there's gonna be some work going on, which we would have just peeled up all of that sidewalk, so I held them off on that. But I just want to let you know they got it done, and I just wanted to publicly thank Ellison Mills, Jason DeCarlo, Howdy Hale, and John Borland. These guys have been out there. They help us all the time. They're the faces of the company that we see, and just really appreciate everything they've done for us.
Okay, well, thank you, Ben. Yep, they've been real good to us. They're the ones that did that 15-day paving job on Attaway Road.
Yep, they're the ones.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? All right, then we'll move out of call to the public and into approval of the minutes. Item number 4, City Council regular meeting, July 10th, 2023, and I think that's the only one. If there are any corrections, additions, comments regarding those minutes? If not, I'll need a motion to act.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
I second.
Okay, there's motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that carries. Now we'll move into some public hearings. Item 5. Oh, hold on, let me find my... To receive public comments on a subdivision text amendment to the City of Coolidge Subdivision Code, Article 3, Section 3-5F, to change a preliminary plat extension period from a 6-month extension period to a 1-year extension period, and authorizing the city manager or their designated assignee to grant such extensions. Mr. Lopez?
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, we're bringing forth some items that we think need cleanup or need to be changed in an effort to streamline and move forward in a better fashion. This is one where we're asking for an extension from 6 months to 1 year. So usually when the P&Z approves a pre-plat, it's good for a year. And then the city manager can provide, or actually the P&Z can provide an additional 6 months. This allows us to give them a year additionally because of, we've seen a lot of inflationary materials and labor cost increases that have affected some of the subdivisions that we're developing. So we're hoping this helps us develop some additional lots as we go forward. P&Z held a public hearing July 12, 23, and what they did is they approved it, but with them approving the actual the amendment to actually do the extension. We wanted to streamline it, so we wanted to, like we do a lot of contracts and everything else, when we allow the city manager, with your pleasure, if that's what you want, to actually approve the extension, because they can't change anything, nothing can change from the pre-plat to the final. So whichever way you want to go, we have an ordinance both ways when we get to that item. And I'll answer any questions you may have.
Gilbert, I don't have any this is just because they don't get things in on time or what? It seems to me that things are taking longer and longer, and I'm not in favor of that. I can tell you right now, I'm not going to vote for this. But go ahead. I just think it takes too long as it is now.
Yeah, and Mayor, if I may, it's not a matter of timing, it's a matter of cost. What happens is what we saw, some of the developers that have done Cross Creek and some of the others saw an increase of millions of dollars in a few months. And they said, I just can't pencil out the cost per linear foot of each of these houses work. So they're waiting for that cost to go down. So if they don't do it within a year, then they have to refile a plat and everything else and start over again. So all this does is gives them a little more time to do that. It's and it's with cause, so it's not automatic. We have to look at it, city manager look and say, is this something that they need to do, that they deserve to get? Or is it something you just didn't do anything and they're not moving forward? That's a different situation. You may not approve it. It's not automatic.
How big of a problem is it? How many of them do we have? Yes, I know you.
It's not that many. I think I'd say 2, but they're pretty important. They're part of Skousen, Cross Creek up in that area.
Okay. Anybody got any questions? Tom?
Well, I just clarify, so initially when the plat's approved, it has a 1-year approval.
Yes,
Okay, so then if they get beyond that, then they have to come in and they have to apply for an extension, and currently it's 6 months, and you're asking to go to a year.
correct. Councilman
Okay,
Wagner.
I just want to make
Yes.
sure I understood.
2 years.
Exactly right.
And can they get another extension after that?
No, the way it's set up, they would have to bring back a pre-plat again through the process.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
No.
Okay, then anybody out there, it's public hearing. Okay, seeing nobody approach. We'll move out of that one and we'll move into item 6, to receive public comments on a zoning code amendment. What is it, Article 12, Table A of the zoning code, changing the minimum parking space width to 9 foot and adding a van accessible parking space for every 6 parking spaces with a 5-foot access aisle.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, 9 feet is what we see across the way, surrounding cities. We see that in the valley. And so making it and applying our 10-foot one that we have would reduce the amount of space needed for parking. They could always make them bigger, but 9 will be the minimum. When I went around town and measured, there's some that are 8.3, 8.5. They're existing, so we can't do anything about it. So 9's been the standard for a long time. Phil sees that when he was in Buckeye. I saw it when I was up in the valley. So all we want to do is be the same as some of the others for the matter of economic development. So when developers get here and they're building something, we have to change it all so they can work within the same rules that a lot of other places have. So that's our proposal to you. We'd like to make it standardized as 9 feet.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? I like that one. We have a lot of big trucks, vehicles around here, and,
Yeah.
you can't open your door, you can't get out. So this is a good one.
Yeah, Mayor, you can make them, and you can also make them larger. So if 11, that's up to the business owner.
Well, I think, 9 is going to be a lot better than what it is now.
Yeah, it's 10. Right now it's 10.
You have anything, Vice Mayor?
No, I just agree with the bigger vehicles, Right.
Oh, they're making them smaller? Oh, there's another no from me. Okay.
We're just allowing the smaller
Okay.
size, which
I'm
is
sorry.
what matches
Thank you
everything else.
Thank you for pointing that out.
I just want to, but I think, Mr. Mayor, like Gilbert said, every city around the area, the standard is 9. In town, you go measure the parking lots in town, they're all 9. I don't know why they're 9, but they're 9.
They're too narrow, Rick.
But that's just,
They're like the 35-foot lots.
Yeah.
Who can, when the school bus takes up 3 houses, it's ridiculous. So, anyway.
just want to make sure everybody understood that it is actually shrinking the space.
And Mayor, when we deal with older lots that are smaller, like when we're trying to squeeze a hotel on a site, they have a hard time with some of the existing sites trying to fit everything in. So this helps those businesses, us be able to approve those site plans. So, and they can, if they got a lot of room and they want to make them bigger, they can. But this just makes it standard throughout, like every other city. Or else we're going to be the one that's bigger and we require an extra foot. And, if they go somewhere else, then that's not something you want to have. Make the rules equal across where all the cities and what we're doing. So we'd be more restrictive if we kept them the same.
Everybody up here is going to vote the way they're going to vote. Myself personally, I understand what you're saying, but I think, just because they're doing something in Casa Grande doesn't mean that I think it's a good idea. And builders are going to go different places. I can remember when you were on the council and they came in here and told us that if you do impact fees a certain way, they're never going to come back. And they told it to Queen Creek, and look at Queen Creek now. And they told us the same thing, and with impact fees, we still seem to be growing. So I'll roll the dice on the other stuff. I just think that some of these things are too small. Everybody's got bigger vehicles and they need more room, and a lot of people are handicapped and they need extra space. There's a lot of problems with things.
Yeah,
But
even all
I hear what you're saying, though.
Yeah, even all our ADOT parking spaces are below 9. All the Central, all Coolidge Avenue, everything. It's not at 9, it's not 10, it's less than that. So those are existing, they're new. So it's just, we're actually requiring them to be bigger than that. So if we stay at 10, so
Well,
that's why I wanted to bring it down.
Maybe I'll be the only one that votes for it.
No, I'm just giving you the reasoning why we brought it before you.
But it's for the new stuff now, so.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody got anything they want to say on this? No? Okay, then we'll move out of that, move into number 7. To receive public comments on a proposed amendment, section 601D, 602D, 603D of the City of Coolidge zoning code, adding churches to the list of conditionally permitted uses in neighborhood business, C1, general business, C2, and general service, C3 zoning districts.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, what we're doing here is adding churches as a conditional use. They still have to go through a public hearing through Planning and Zoning Commission so they can hear, if they're in the right area surrounding the houses and everything. So all it does, it allows the opportunity for churches to apply to be in the business district C1, C2, or C3, which they're not allowed to right now, but a lot of those cities are allowing them also. But we've been asked by different churches, and you see some that are grandfathered in that we did a long time ago, and they're fine. They can continue on, but we have some that want to occupy some vacant buildings, and so we're bringing this forward to you for consideration.
Can you tell us what C1, C2, and C3?
Yeah, those are the commercial districts. The C1 is the neighborhood business district, C2 is the general business district, and C3 is the general services. So for example, most of the boulevard is either C2 or C3. So where you see Circle K's, you'll see all the other retail type businesses, not the industrials. In C3, you can have some light industrial, but it's very light. It has to be interior. So most of these are the commercial areas throughout the city where we have retail and some small businesses, offices, that type of thing. So they may not fit in every area, but at least they could be considered under conditional use Planning and Zoning Commission with restrictions if they need to.
So Gilbert, right now, I think there's a church in that business suite off Arizona Avenue or Arizona Boulevard in Central.
Mm-hmm.
And is that classified as C2, C3, or C1?
I believe that's C2, and it's fine the way it is. It's been there a long time. So anything that was pre-existing, because the previous zoning allowed it or it's grandfathered in, it continue on. This is for anything new that wants to move into a commercial area.
So this would probably be something maybe on Central Avenue or something that might want to go in?
Could be one of the vacant buildings there. We have some on Central that some expressed interest. Also in Tractor Supply, I think there may be some that wants to move in there. There's some in there that exists already that are fine. But if somebody else wants to move in there, then we can consider them under conditional use.
Right, because I had a church in there at one time, in that shopping area in there, they had a church at one time in there.
Yes.
And they have a church behind Bank of the West. I know it's in a neighborhood plus commercial because you have Bank of the West right there.
Right.
So, I mean, it looks like, of course, I guess those are grandfathered too.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you got them here and there pretty much all through town right now
Yes.
that are grandfathered in.
Mayor,
Wouldn't
so-
affect those.
So the church that's in the building that he was initially talking about, it hasn't been there for a real long time.
Yeah, and I thought it'd been there quite a while, but I can check it if you want me to check it. But
There
if
was
not,
one
it
in
can.
before this one.
Yeah,
Now
but
this one's been there quite a
if
while.
not, they could apply under the C2, but yeah, under the conditional use. But we'll see if there's some that weren't in there properly. We could ask them to apply.
Frank, did you have?
I was just going to say, I think this does clear up some problems around town. We have some churches that are more of an accessory to another use. United Dance Studio is a good example. They hold some church services or Bible studies on Sunday. But, the principal use is primarily the dance studio. But I think this will clear up some of that and allow us to look at some of these activities and approve this use in the commercial area, where it seems appropriate. Now, maybe it's not appropriate at all locations, but at least through the conditional use process, you notify surrounding property owners. They have an opportunity to come and either voice their, support or objection to a particular request, but it just opens it up a little bit and allows us to consider some of these churches in these commercial areas.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this gonna hurt any of the existing?
No. Unless they're not there legally, then we could fix it by making them go through this process. But all the ones that we're aware of, I think you're fine.
Mr. Mayor, that's the other thing, that we do have that entertainment district that the council approved several years ago that'll churches to not have a problem, close to a place that sells alcohol or just. So that's not a problem.
How far off the boulevard does that come? Because I know the one that this one's looking at was it the old Napa used to be, right?
That entertainment district is
Yeah,
pretty
I
large.
believe it takes the whole boulevard back to where the residential starts, and I think it goes down Central
Yeah,
and then does the loop around.
Because I was going to ask you about that, because we had that problem with the one over just north of the Chinese restaurant. And then we had a problem with the one across from the old junior high, where the chamber luncheon is now. Remember that? And we voted no, and the state let them do it anyway.
Oh, the one.
Because they were too close with the alcohol limit.
I think that was a school.
They overrode us and said, too bad. But
And
so
I-
I'm wondering, are they, I don't have a problem with this, but is the other things that we have in place, is that going to impact?
No, Mayor, that's the thing is the city manager said, the entertainment district, in the past, they had issues with, I think a lot of cities didn't approve churches in commercial districts because San Luis had an issue years ago, and that was a classic case where a church moved in because they didn't want anybody selling alcohol right on the main drag, and they moved in with the sole purpose, from what I understand, to stop the sale of alcohol in a couple places, and there were some restaurants around there and all that. So the entertainment districts fixes that so the churches and the businesses that sell alcohol can coexist. So that's why we did that and passed that, I think.
Okay, well, that's what I was wondering, because I know it's in the entertainment district, but I know that it goes back like the first block.
Right.
And then, so that's still the entertainment district, so they're fine.
Yeah, as long as the business is in there.
I just want to make sure that we're not doing this for,
And churches are still allowed in the residential districts, so if somebody applies in there, we had that before and improved it.
well, if you go from Central Avenue to Vaca Inn, there's probably on the east side of the boulevard, there's probably 4 or 5 churches in that little area right there.
Yes.
So I mean, Chief Grizzle hasn't mentioned any, like a lot of complaints about those churches. I don't hear anything about them, so I think they're behaving themselves. So I think we'll be okay, but I just want to make sure that we all know what we got, what we're doing when we vote. I think we do now. Thank you. Anybody got anything else? Anything else? No? Okay, how about out there? It's a public hearing. Okay, then we'll move out of that. And we'll move into business items for consent. And before I get going on this one, is there anybody on the council that wants any of these items pulled off for individual consideration?
No, sir.
No.
Oh, boy. All right. Item eight. Consider approval of a special event liquor license application submitted by Miss Lynn Parsons with the Coolidge Chamber of Commerce to hold a Hawaiian's Charter Party on Saturday, November 4th, 2023, at the Artisan Village located at 351 North Arizona Boulevard, Coolidge, Arizona. Item 9, consider approval of the request submitted by the DAV Chapter 36 to close outlined streets for the Veterans Day Parade being held on Saturday, November 11th, 2023, beginning at 10 a.m. Discussion and action. And that outline with, so. Item 10, consider approval of the request submitted by the VFW Post 3712 for street closures outlined in the attached map to hold their annual car and bike show on Saturday, October 21st from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. Okay. Item 11, consider approval of entering into an interagency agreement between the City of Coolidge and Pinal Gila Council for Senior Citizens doing business as Meals on Wheels of Central Arizona for the purpose of providing meals to the Coolidge Adult Center. Item 12, consider approval to unfreeze capital to purchase 35 new FN AR-15 rifles equipped with necessary attachments from ProForce Law Enforcement in the amount of $111,384.57 minus trade-in value of current rifles at $11,723.47 for a total purchase price of $99,661.10, waiving the sealed bid requirements in the best interest of the city. Item 13, consider approval of entering into an intergovernmental agreement number 2023-02 regarding reimbursement of salary, overtime, and employee-related expenses incurred due to the Coolidge Police Department's participation in the Pinal County Narcotics Task Force ACJC Grant DC-24009. Item 14, approval of entering into a cooperative purchasing agreement with DCS Contracting, Inc. for construction of a biosolids dump box at the wastewater treatment plant, utilizing horizontal job order contracting statewide, JOC, number CTR 063224, for an amount not to exceed $79,000, plus applicable taxes, authorizing the mayor to sign the necessary documents. Item 15, consider approval of purchasing a new Massey Ferguson MF2850M hydro compact tractor with Empire Machinery in the amount not to exceed $65,000 plus applicable taxes for the Public Works Street Division, utilizing Arizona Department of Transportation contract number CTR 052847, authorizing the mayor to sign the necessary documents. Item 17, consider approval of amendment to cooperative purchase agreement with Ellison Mills Construction for on-call maintenance and repair services to reconstruct Signal Peak Road from McCartney Road to Woodruff Road, and authorizing the mayor to sign the necessary documents. Item 17, consider approval of amendment to the service agreement between USP Technologies and the City of Coolidge for the Val Vista Lift Station and the Kenworthy Trunk Line Odor Control, authorizing the mayor to sign the necessary documents. And item 18, consider approval of the claims for the month of June 2023. Okay, if there's no questions, I would look for a motion to act.
Mayor, move to approve item number 8 through 18 is read.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we'll move into business under regular items, item 19. Ordinance number 23-08A, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Coolidge, Arizona, levying separate amounts to be raised for primary and secondary property tax levies upon each $100 of the assessed valuation of property subject to taxation within the city of Coolidge for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Mr. Garcia?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. If you notice, this ordinance has an A by it. All we're doing is changing the rate, lowering the secondary property tax rate from .3262 to .2953. It still levies the same amount. It's just correcting the rate that needs to be charged to raise the amount necessary to pay the debt service payments for the GO bond at the pool. So originally, it was read at a higher rate because I didn't use the correct valuation on that one. And so by correcting that, it drops the rate to 2953. Still the same amount of money, just the wrong number was used in calculating that. So this is just correcting that. So we're in line with everything. It's been double checked by the county and been forwarded along to the state as well. So this just corrects that ordinance.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments, questions? All right, I need a motion to act.
Mayor, if there's no further discussion, I make a motion we approve ordinance number 23-08 as read.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Sienna.
Councilmember Tom Bagnell,
Yes.
Councilmember Adriana Savetra,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor John Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item 20, ordinance number 23-10, an ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending Article 3, Section 3-5F of the Coolidge Subdivision Code, authorizing the city manager or their designated assignee to grant a preliminary plat extension of 1 year.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry. Council members, this is the ordinance to enact the item about the extension to the preliminary plat, giving them an additional year versus 6 months. We have both versions of the ordinance, one that keeps it with the Planning and Zoning Commission, and one that actually allows it, staff recommended, that the city manager be authorized to do that or assignee. Choose which one you want. So we're recommending the city manager because of streamlining and doing things quicker, saves us, and you can't change anything, so it's just a streamlining move on our part.
I just have one question. So this was presented to the P and Z Commission, and did they vote on it, or?
Yes, they approved it, but with the caveat that they keep it, that they actually are the ones that provide the 1-year extension. They authorized 6 more months, so it's a year, but they didn't want to allow the city manager to actually approve that.
They did or they didn't?
They did not.
They did not.
They're recommending approval based with them keeping the authorization to grant the extension.
Did they give a justification as to why they wanted to keep it?
In my opinion, I don't know if Phil has a different one, but they just said it wasn't anything about the city manager. They just thought they wanted to keep it as is because we were having a hard time with trying to get the extension because of that. So I said, well, you can change it if you'd like, and then we'll take it forward to mayor and council to see what they want to do.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the way the process works now, they would have to go to the planning commission. We'd have to schedule a meeting. The commission would have to hear it and approve the extension. They can't change the plat. They can't do anything to the plat. The plat stays exactly the same. They just want to look at it and approve the extension versus if I did it, which I think the staff was recommending, we wouldn't have to schedule a planning commission to have the applicant come here and have the commission approve basically the same, keeping the plat for another year, same plat. So either way, if the council wants to go and have it go back to the planning commissions, which they recommended, or if you want to go with a staff recommendation where I'm able to do that or my designee, either way you want to do it, whichever you prefer. We were just trying to make it simpler and take a little bit less, it takes a little bit of the bureaucracy out of the process of getting it extended, that's all.
And they only have one amendment, and then after that, if they don't start the process, then they have to start over again.
Correct.
Okay.
So Gilbert, they have a meeting every month, correct?
Yes.
Planning and zoning,
Yeah, as long as they have business. There have been some times where there was nothing for
right,
them, but it's rare. We usually have a meeting.
okay.
Have they ever turned down an extension?
Not to my knowledge, we haven't had we haven't had subdivisions built in so long. We haven't even recorded I think we're recording our first plat. It's been so long since we had this issue. So maybe,
We have a few subdivision plats that are coming through the process now. Again, because of the inflationary rates and other things, cost of materials, they just think that they're gonna have to come back and ask for an extension after a year. In most cases, it's not uncommon for them to have to come back and ask for an extension. The 1 year gives them a little longer before everything expires and they have to come back. But there aren't that many. There are really just a few subdivisions that are probably going to fall into this. I'm thinking Skousen Ranch, Cross Creek.
yeah, those
Maybe,
two.
maybe Landmark when it gets approved here pretty soon. A few subdivisions like that are starting to come in because we're running out of lots. These developers are thinking about bringing in new preliminary plats. If they come right in and do a final plat, get the council approval of a final plat, that pretty much changes everything. Some of them will come in right away and get a final plat approved, post a bond or financial assurance, we record it, or we hold the recording of the final plat until they provide the improvements on the property, and then we record the final plat. So it's a little complicated. We're just trying to smooth it out and make it a little easier for these landowners or developers that are trying to get these subdivisions started here in our community.
Well, I think we have oh, go ahead.
Well, I just don't think 6 months is gonna make that much of a difference. I mean, especially with the cost of material and everything. I think you have a lot of businesses that are backing off right now, and, I mean, this six months, I know the mayor thinks 6 months is gonna be, make a difference, but I don't think it'll make a difference, and, I mean, after a year extension, then they're gonna have to come back again anyways, which is gonna cost them more money, so. Anyways, that's just the way I feel.
But I think we have a planning and zoning commission for a reason, so I don't see any problem with it going back to planning and zoning.
Did the Planning and Zoning Commission, did they state any reason in particular why they wanted to keep control over that, or?
They thought that the city manager would change something, and I said, he can't. I said, even you can't either, unless it comes back to you as a pre-plat, but it just seemed to, maybe I didn't explain it correctly, but they were of the opinion, and they said, well, it's nothing with our current city manager, and, but, what if he changes this? I said, you can't do that. It's got to stay the same. In fact, we have to certify on the plat that it's the same one that the preliminary plat came in. So it's it's signed off by myself and the other, public works director and everybody else, so.
If anything's changed, it's gotta be reapproved again.
Mhm.
Right.
Absolutely, it has to start over again, yeah.
And I can understand where they're coming from, but at the same time, I mean, if they have the preliminary plat approved and it's good for a year, and then they get a 1 year extension, they can't go beyond that, then, I mean, it's really in their best interest to go ahead and try to get it done within that 2 year period, if that's what it takes.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I mean, I really don't think that we're losing much, as far as that goes, because nothing can be changed.
Right.
So, I mean, if we've already done a preliminary approval, and then they need some more time to work through things, I think that's understandable, and, again, we don't want to make things too difficult for people, because that's when people start, well, they're just unreasonable, and they don't want to work with us, so we don't want to deal with them anymore, so I would be willing to go ahead and support it the way as it's presented tonight.
Well,
Discussion done.
yeah, anybody have anything else? I guess somebody needs to make a motion.
Mayor, I move that we grant the additional 6 months, but I would like for it to stay with the planning commission. Is that worded correctly?
It's a 1-year extension with the
Okay, the
planning
one-
commission recommending approval of the 1-year extension. I think that's what your motion is.
Because they do the 6 months, and then they're,
Yeah, they have 1 year, but
Reading right.
the ordinance says that they get a 1-year extension. So a 1-year extension, but you would like the planning commission to review and approve that extension, that 1-year extension.
that's correct.
Is there a second for that?
I second it.
Okay. There's a motion and a second, Sienna.
Councilmember Tom Bagnell,
No.
Councilmember Adriana Saavedra,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Hudson,
No.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor John Thompson.
No.
No. We have 3-3.
So, members of the council, you can continue discussing the item. It's a 3-3 vote. It's not approved. So if you want to continue to discuss it, see if there's other options you would consider.
Go ahead.
No, I think we can do that, or we can wait for the council member number 7 to appear and see what he thinks.
That's an option too. I guess you could table the item until the next meeting with the hope that everybody's going to be back. But
Or could we find out a little more about why planning and zoning doesn't want this, and maybe you guys could all agree, so.
Yeah, and I asked that question. It's on the tape, and it just said, well, we think somebody could be changed, and that was one member that kept stating that over. The rest of them just they approved it, but with that change, since that was the motion. So, and it's on video. I mean, I don't know if maybe I guess I could reach out to them and see. But it's also the issue of the cost. There's a lot of engineering costs that go into these things, and so not getting an extension or doing that is very expensive for these developers. They may say, okay, well, it's one reason. So I may just walk away. I mean, we don't want to lose people. That's some of the reasons we're doing these things.
Well, it doesn't, I mean, am I getting this right? The Planning and Zoning Commission can meet every month, and they almost always approve it, but it seems to be that they don't want to change the process.
But they
I'm
don't always
just-
approve it. They have a right to not approve it if they want. So.
Okay, I thought earlier you said that they do, so.
No, I said they had, as far as, we haven't had one come before them.
Okay.
The time we've been here, because we haven't had any new subdivisions. We started finally growing, and now we're running out of lots. So we're trying to find ways to expedite and get them through as fast as we can. And they're the ones that are telling us the costs are going. It's their money, and they're spending millions. And they said, we're ready to go, but we can't afford it because the cost of concrete, asphalt went up. But, prices are starting to come down. So it's not, if inflation gets under control and starts leveling down, they may say, that's just enough for us to file a final plat and start building this thing. So they're looking for builders and everything else. So, we're trying to work with them as much as we can. So that's why we bring in these things to you.
Well, either way they do it, I mean, there's not going to be any additional expense to them,
Correct.
is there?
No, not with this.
Whether it goes by the city manager or by the P and Z commission when
Right.
they reconsider it.
Yeah, it'll just be quicker with the city manager than
Right.
than scheduling and doing that. And if we don't have a quorum, then it gets pushed to the next meeting. We've had that where we had the P and Z members call in because we didn't have enough people. So we have one vacancy we'll be working on filling that pretty quickly.
Basically just trying to streamline the process.
Yes. Yeah. Nothing can be changed. I mean, it's just faster.
Well, I at this point, I think that, I would like to go ahead and move the table at this time until our next meeting, when we can address it then, and then maybe at that time, some of us might have an opportunity to talk with the P and Z commissioners and find out what, if any, concerns they had about it. And then we can probably make a better decision, because I didn't realize that what was presented to us was not what the commission had passed.
Right.
So that would have been good information to have up front.
Yeah, and it's on the ordinance portion of it on the bottom of the red, and it's on the bottom of the report. The attorney put it there to make sure, Nick, that you can see
Okay.
it. I apologize if I didn't point that out.
I think I missed that then.
Yeah, so as a recommending body, we were informing you what they recommended, but council makes the actual decision. And there are times in the past where, when I was on the city council, it was rare that we didn't go along with the recommendation, but sometimes we didn't, for whatever reason, so.
Okay.
It happens.
So my motion is to go ahead and table it this time till the next meeting.
Second.
Next meeting.
Do we have to withdraw the other one, or we just go ahead with this one?
No, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make sure I understood Councilmember Bagnell's full motion. He said table to the next meeting, so I just want to make sure
That's
we
correct.
got it so it'll be on the meeting on the 28th.
That's correct.
So there's a motion and there's a
Second.
second. Okay. All right, then. Go ahead, Shannon.
Councilmember Tom Bagno,
Yes.
Councilmember Adriana Sabeja,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta,
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor John
Yes.
Thompson.
Thank you. Item 21, ordinance number 23-11. An ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending zoning code 13 Table A of the zoning code to change the minimum parking dimension standard width from 10 feet to 9 feet, and add a van accessible parking space for every 6 accessible parking spaces with a 5-foot access aisle.
Yes, it's Niall. Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the ordinance, as we talked about earlier, to allow the spaces to go to 9 feet instead of 10, which is what we have now, which falls in line with some of the surrounding cities and some of the businesses I went around and checked around town. I can name them if you want, give you the distances of the spaces. I don't know if that matters. Tractor Supply is 9 feet, Safeway Plaza is 9 feet. The council chamber is 9 feet here. All the ADOT roads, central, they're from 8, in front of City Hall, it's 8 foot 3 inches. In front of the post office, it's 8 foot 5. In front of Coolidge Avenue is 8 foot 8. So Shops is 8.5. So this just give you an idea of what they are around the city right now, where people park. So all we're doing is bringing them in the center, which is 9. So if you keep it at 10, it would make them bigger and than what we have around town. But that's your pleasure. We'll enforce that if that's the case. On new things or redevelop stuff, that's where we'll have a harder time. When somebody wants to fix up something that's existing, they're going to redo the parking lot, then the 10-footers would apply versus something they had before.
Gilbert, did you do Safeway or Walmart? to check
Yes.
what their spaces
Yeah,
are?
well, Safeway is 9 feet on center. Walmart, they just restriped. They're at 9.5. They're a little over, but they're not 10. They added a little bit in the
Yeah,
area I
Wa-
checked.
Walmart's really nice. I really didn't notice the extra half an inch if it was 9 before.
Yep.
I like the way that both of them did their handicap parking. It looks like it's good. You have more accessible for handicap, especially more room for vans and stuff. So I guess that's just the property owners that do that. Is that correct?
Yes, but we require, part of this requires that they add some additional accessibility when you have an aisle, 5-foot aisle, and then you have some for a van and for a vehicle. It's a little different on the sides, but that'll meet the ADA requirements.
And it says, right now it says 10 feet. What the current one is right now, correct?
That's what's in the zoning code.
But you're just saying that anywhere from 8.5 to 9.5 to begin with.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
So this would just affect the new ones that are coming in?
Yes, and that'll just give them the minimum. They could go bigger, that's no problem. But we could say, you can't go below 9.
So our minimum was 10 before,
Right.
but it's anywhere from, all around the city, anywhere from 8.5 to 9.
Yeah, and we've
None of
used-
them have really been the 10 feet to begin with.
Right.
And so you just want to make it standard 9 feet across the board,
Correct.
but everybody else will be grandfathered into the way they existing have it?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
I thought we were at 10, and now we're reducing.
Well, that's what the zoning code has now.
Okay.
So somewhere it got in when we adopted or changed it. We just,
You know, I think what happens, the ordinance says 10, we look at the site plans, they show 10, but when in reality, when they go out and stripe it in the parking lot,
They do.
they're striping less than 10 out of compliance, but that's what they're doing.
Well, I think that stems from a building official we had many, many years ago, because all those were built when he was here. So,
Well, I think like Gilbert said, ADOT, when they striped their project along Central and Main, those are all 8.5.
Right.
That wasn't very long ago.
Well, ADOT did a terrible job on that project anyway. They messed everything up they could mess up on that project, including the parking spaces. So I wouldn't use that as an example.
No, I'm just saying that we don't really have any in town that are 10.
Okay. So they're 10 now, we just haven't been enforcing what
that's what's
I
on
guess
zoning
our
code.
code or our
Mayor, it's in the
requirement.
zoning code.
Yeah.
It's 10, but it's not. I mean, because nine's just what everybody uses. We'll enforce the 10 if you want us to and see what happens.
Well, like I say, for me, the wider the better, but whoever's gonna make the motion.
The only other thing I would add, Mr. Mayor, is that, you know, we have a hotel looking at coming here. The hotel requires more spaces than what our code normally requires. Or our code requires more spaces than what the hotel is generally used to providing. If you go to 10 instead of 9, they're going to even lose more spaces. They could gain some spaces to help them get close.
And that would affect any new restaurants that might come in also.
It could. I mean, because you're basically, I mean,
Reducing the
obviously,
parking per customer.
you're parking more, if it's more parking area, less parking spaces.
Well, that all makes perfect sense to me. On the other hand, the time's gonna run out on that plat, or, well, for the hotel,
Major site plan.
major site plan. I mean, because they sure aren't making any moves, so
Burger King.
the Burger King's another one.
We may have-
So, you know, we want to start talking about what could happen in the future. I think right now, you know, we'll vote, but I'm going with 10. I'm going to leave it the way it is, my vote. And these guys can do what they want to do. So we need a motion to.
No further
do something.
discussion. I make a motion, we approve ordinance 23-11 as read.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay.
Councilmember Tom Bagnell,
Yes.
Councilmember Adriana Savedra,
No.
Councilmember Steve Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jackie Henry,
No.
and Mayor John Thompson.
No.
We're just batting 3-3 all night.
Sounds like a football game.
Yeah, exactly. Mayor, members of council, I mean, same thing, if you want to talk more about it and see if you could come up with another motion, or if you want to table it again to the next council meeting, where hopefully there'll be an odd number of you.
I mean, you had 10 to begin with, you don't have any of them that are 10. I don't know why you would force a new business to come in and make them 10. But, I mean, we tabled the last one, so if we make sure every council member will be telephonic or here, I'd make a motion that we table it till the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, it's tabled
Table till the next meeting.
till next week. Yeah.
Not go any further than that, just table till the next meeting. Either everybody be teleconference or in present.
All right, item 22, ordinance number 23-12. An ordinance of the City of Coolidge, Arizona, amending the City of Coolidge zoning code, Article, what is that, 5, 6, Sections 601D, 601D, 602D, 603D, adding churches as a conditional permitted use within the neighborhood business, C1 zoning district, and general business, C2 zoning district, and general service, C3 zoning district.
Mayor Thompson, Vice Mayor Henry, council members, this is the ordinance that allows churches and to be considered under conditional use permit for C1, C2, and C3 business districts. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Anybody have any questions on that one?
There's no further discussion, then I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance 23.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, motion and second.
Councilmember Tom Bagnell,
Yes.
Councilmember Adriana Savedra,
Yes.
Councilmember Steve Hudson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tatiana Murrieta. Vice Mayor Jackie Henry,
Yes.
and Mayor John Thompson.
Yes.
There we go, that's all it takes, right there.
We're on the roll, maybe we need to take the other ones again.
Exactly.
Okay. Report from the mayor and city council and city manager. We'll start over here with Councilmember Bagnell.
I have got nothing, thank you.
Okay.
I have nothing.
I have nothing, Mayor.
Tatiana?
I too have nothing.
Nothing.
Wow.
Just, we put in your packet tonight on your table, the monthly report, and then in the back of it, you'll see we have a cleanup day this week, this Saturday. I think the Landmark subdivision, we've got a couple of roll-off containers out there. We're encouraging the Landmark residents to take advantage of this cleanup day.
That's good.
And kind of clean up the neighborhood a little bit. We also have in there the schedule for the general plan process. Our next planning commission meeting will be talking about circulation element. We had a great discussion last Wednesday to talk about the land use component. We'll be having monthly meetings to kind of go over each of the elements of the general plan, receive public comment. Eventually, we'll bring an updated plan, not a completely changed plan. We're looking at just modifying the existing plan. We're not completely redoing it because it's served us pretty well. We'll bring an updated plan to the planning commission, ultimately to the council. And then if the council approves the updated plan, it'll go to the voters next November. So that's kind of our schedule. We're required under the law to have the voters approve the plan update once every 10 years. We're in that cycle again. And we'll see how this process works. But we invite the planning, all the department heads, we've invited community members. Phil has taken a very active approach in sending out invitations to all the various agencies around it. You know, so we have a very active participation component of this effort. We don't want anybody at the end of the day say they didn't have an opportunity to come in and give us their comments and feedback on the existing plan and how it might be, it should be amended. So hopefully we'll keep getting good participation in this effort. That's all I have, Mayor.
Well, it's a good idea to know what it is, because sometimes, you know, you have to move it. You can only move it once a year sometimes on
Well, I
major
think that's
things.
changed now. I think the law has changed where you can do a major amendment any during the year. The law did change, and so it's not as difficult. I think the state is actually trying to make the process a little easier too for some of the developers, so.
Well, that's a little dangerous for the cities. When you have some of the neighbors you have.
But yeah,
Well, the only thing I've got is, let me see, a number of meetings. During the time that we weren't meeting, I had a chance to meet with Representative Crane and Senator Sinema, and mainly discussed transportation infrastructure with Sinema, and with Eli. We discussed the airport, toured the airport, and looked at the businesses, and talked about various things that we thought we needed to do out there. I did have a chance to welcome back the Coolidge High School teachers and staff. And, the round table, let's see, stakeholders meeting for the new park. And road construction is the first phase, and Mr. Navarro and his guys are getting that done. And we did meet with San Carlos Power people the other day about upgrading the electric to the airport, and that's in the process now. We're moving them forward with that. And hopefully we'll get something accomplished this time with those guys. And if we do, that'll be a good thing. So let's keep our fingers crossed. We finally have somebody out there that's working with us, and he has the authority to actually do something. So I think we're in good shape unless they transfer him somewhere else. We're in pretty good shape. So if that's it, then I need a motion to get out of here.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming, everybody. We're adjourned.